Hello everyone, welcome to today's session on the evolution of family therapy, the paradigm shifts. Well, the family therapy as a distinct method of psychotherapy practice did not actually emerge until the early 1960s. A lot of research was conducted on the etiology of schizophrenia in the 1950s. There were many other researches that were conducted on the group processes, marriage counseling, and the child guidance movement. And all of these things took place in the early 20th century. And this kind of formed the basis for family therapy. It was in the late 1940s and early 1950s that certain concepts like cybernetics, systems, and communications were developed. I know these sound a bit difficult and complicated concepts, but don't worry, we're going to discuss these in the upcoming sessions. Now, these concepts were actually taken from different or various disciplines. For example, some of them were taken from sociology, some of the concepts were taken from anthropology, and many other disciplines. And these theoretical frameworks actually formed a basis for the therapist to have an in-depth understanding of the interaction and other processes that we see in a family. So therefore, these concepts from various disciplines actually form the basis for the development and better understanding of how interaction and many other dynamics happen in a family. Now coming on to the paradigms. It was not something that was there in the mind of therapists right from the beginning that family is something that is going to that has an influence on the psychopathology of an individual. In the initial stages, and in fact sometimes now, we are mostly focused on the individual counseling or therapy. And most of the time, whatever we look for or whatever we work on is majorly on the intrapsychic. And one of the famous persons who worked or proposed this concept was none other than the person that you see in the picture. Yes, you guessed it right, Sigmund Freud. He was the one who constantly spoke about various concepts, intrapsychic concepts. According to him, majority of the things were actually based on or understood based on the defense mechanisms or the transference or the counter-transference that took place during a therapeutic setting. Now, when we are talking about psychoanalysis, it's always about how the interaction or different dynamics take place with the therapist, the person, the client, and the therapist. And there is no real family involved. It's more of an imaginary family that is involved. And whatever feelings or experiences that this individual is having, the person will be actually projecting it onto the therapist, and therefore they will have an understanding. So when we talk about the autonomous self, it's all about the intrapsychic experience, how an individual is all dependent on oneself, the psychopathology and all other concepts are all based on what's happening within the individual. And this paradigm failed to explain how the relationship between people or the society and many other aspects actually have a strong influence on the psychopathology or etiology of any kind of emotional disorder in an individual. The second paradigm that we are going to talk about is called the relational self. Well, there were two theories, significant sociological theories that had a very strong impact and influence on the change of this paradigm shift from the autonomous self. The first one that I'm going to talk about is structural functional theories. Well, based on these theories, they are always talking about how individuals are interrelated and the society at large is interrelated, and how an impact on one has an impact on the other as a whole. So it constantly spoke about the interconnectedness among individuals. Now, coming back to the concepts that were brought forward by Freud, although constantly he was talking about the autonomous self or an individual, one of the psychologists, prominent psychologists who was working with him throughout, and again I know you can recognize this person, yes, it's Alfred Adler. He was talking about individual psychology and how the drive to overcome feelings of inferiority and to achieve a sense of self-esteem, adequacy, and power within their social and relational worlds, all these played an important role in how a person was motivated to do something. And therefore, when Adler is talking about these aspects, he's talking from the perspective of how individuals are trying to overcome this inferiority complex and striving towards it. And he spoke about the development of emotional disorders based on these factors. Again, although he was working with Sigmund Freud, he tends to move away from that concept and he comes up with something that is very different, and that is relational. Now, inspired by Adler's work, there were few other people who started working on interpersonal relationships, and that is those people are none other than Sullivan and Richmond and a few others more. Now, these individuals started working and researching doing research on various aspects of interpersonal relationship that actually led to emotional disorders. Some of the research that was done helped them to understand how at an early stage the relationship between a mother and a child can have a strong impact and even cause a lot of anxiety and insecure feelings in a child. And on the other hand, even secure feelings. So when they researched on these interpersonal relationships, they found that the initial level, the security that a child or an individual experiences in the relationships, especially in an early stage, have a strong impact on the psychological well-being, or if not in a proper manner, if not taken care of in a proper manner, might also lead to different kinds of emotional disorders. In the initial stages, family therapists continued to believe that human emotional suffering was seen as symptomatic of disordered family relationships. And often we would know, and we always relate, we find out that it is how individuals relate to each other, especially in the families, is what leads to a lot of emotional disorders. And therefore, a lot of focus was put, or an emphasis was laid on the relational self. The third paradigm shift that came up was called the narrative self. Well, you would have heard of the theory, sociological theory called social constructionism. Based on this theory, as you see in the picture, it's not so much to do with what we see or what we experience. It's more to do with the meaning that we make out of these experiences. And now the family therapists started analyzing the various meaning and meaning making that individuals made out of the experiences that they had in their day-to-day life experiences. And that had a huge impact on a paradigm shift in the way individuals started looking, or therapists started looking at the family therapy or the dynamics that happen between the family members. Now the emotional disorders were more understood on the basis of how individuals make meaning out of the things that are happening around them. For example, if someone has come back home, if the family member has come back home after work, so let's say the husband has come back home after work. The husband is very tired after the day's work, maybe had a bad day at work, and he comes back home and sees some mess around in the area, in the house, and immediately gets irritated, and he shouts at the children. Now, the wife who doesn't know, who is not aware of what would have happened at the office for the husband, might start feeling, how can he talk like this? How can he be so rude with the children? He maybe even think that, the person doesn't love his children. But it's not about whether the person is concerned or not. You can see that there is a difference in how the person is making meaning out of the whole situation. On the other hand, the wife might also think, maybe he had a bad day at office, and that's the reason why he is getting angry and he is getting irritated. She knows him. She knows how he feels, on what he might be going through. And therefore the interaction would also be different. It is more about the meaning that is created or formed in the families that form the basis of understanding of the dynamics that happen in the family. There might be certain stories of individuals that might be running in the family. A certain individual might be called or spoken to as the lazy one, as the one who is the most disorganized. In every family, probably there will be certain individuals who are tagged with certain names or different attributes or characteristics, which may or may not be true about that person. But it's the story, it's the interpretation that every other person has made of the actions or the experiences that they have had with the individual. And these narrations that are running in the family have a strong impact on an individual, on the psychological, emotional growth and well-being of an individual. So I hope the session helped you to understand the various paradigms that were there and that evolved, and the paradigm shift that took place in the process of the evolution of family therapy, and how there was a change in understanding the etiology of various emotional or psychological disorders based on how we look or interpret various aspects or dynamics that are there in the family. Thank you.